Are we enjoying the tamales? Let's give a hand. Is Nick still here? All right, well, we'll let it go. Oh, yeah, there you are. Okay, thank you, Nick. That was excellent. The red sauce was just right.
Good.
I didn't try the green.
It was good.
It was good, okay. Okay. We're going to have a drawing for 2 books. First one is this one. We've given it out several times. Take Charge of Your Health. These are just really inspiring stories of people who took charge of their health, and it shows what is possible. And you know, what I like is that they're inspirational, but they're also real, in that sometimes they slip back. But so it really is a very good book. So we'll look. Okay. All right. Turn it right side up. 595. 595. All right. Let's give her a hand. Now, this next one is Dr. Atwood's low-fat prescription for kids. How many kids do we have here today? How many have children? Grandchildren. That you would like to see them grow up healthy. This is an excellent book in how to raise healthy kids, basically. It's safe and sensible eating for lifelong health. So in other words, they don't stop when they turn 18. They keep going. So let's, if I can reach that. Okay. 599. No? You don't have 599?
I do have 599, but I don't want the book.
You're okay.
I'm going to pass it to the next person.
Who do you want to give it to?
Who has children? Or grandchildren. There you go, right there. This lady right here. Raise her hand.
Okay. Janet, Jakes?
Vivian.
Vivian? Okay. Give her a hand. All right, I think we're ready for demo. So Sherilyn is going to demo granola, and this is my favorite granola by far. There's nothing on the market that comes close. So
Did that right there. Okay, very good. Very good. All right. Okay. Dr. Kevin will pass out the recipe there. Okay, good. That's great. I'm so glad you're here today.
take it.
We have another recipe today that we have permission to use from Depression the Way Out. This is a class we've had here before at Three Angels. And this is a good recipe. I've used it for many years. I have been using apple juice concentrate in this recipe instead of the white grape juice concentrate as it calls for. I went ahead and wrote it out that way for you. We can just look at the ingredients there. The water and dates. I've already taken the water and the dates and I softened them in the micro for 2 minutes. I did 1 minute, stirred them a little bit, did it another minute. So 2 minutes to get them nice and soft. And then I'm using just apple juice concentrate. Has anybody been able to find white grape juice concentrate? I haven't found it for years.
Have you tried Dawn's?
I have looked in so many stores, I can't find it. So, yeah, to really get the flavor. You know, I saw an idea to try after I made my granola of just taking the juice and, you know, cooking it down to make a syrup. And I've done that before with another recipe that I did, but it takes a long time, you know, to do that. It takes several hours. But the apple juice concentrate's okay. Did you like the granola? Was it okay? Good? Okay, good. So, and you can always adapt it to your taste. You can always add other seasonings too, and, you know, add fruit and other things you'd like to add to your granola. And then there's a fourth a cup of oil. There's vanilla extract or powder. I'm using a powder today. And then salt, old-fashioned rolled oats. I'm using the gluten-free oats. So what you had was gluten-free oats. And then coconut, unsweetened coconut, walnuts, almonds. Instead of wheat bran, I used oat bran today, in case someone might have been gluten intolerant, so I went ahead and used that. And then the flaxseed meal that I ground up. So, we'll just get busy and put this together. I have the dates here already done up from in the micro. I did those beforehand, so that's a cup of dates and a half a cup of water. And then we're going to add our half a cup of apple juice concentrate. I already measured that out, so that's a half a cup. Okay, and then we need a fourth a cup of oil. I'm using the extra virgin olive oil. Okay, and then we have our vanilla and salt. I get this vanilla online. I haven't ever found it locally, but you can look at it later if you'd like to. It's just a white vanilla powder. And then 1.5 teaspoons of salt. Put that in. And then we'll blend that up. There's so many different kinds of granola recipes. Okay, here we go. All right, we'll blend this up.
Just a quick question.
That's pretty good.
I noticed that you cut the dates before you put them in. Is that-
I did. Oh yeah, I did. I did cut my dates. Yeah, it talks about slicing them. Usually the dates I get are pitted, but every now and again, you know how you find a pit. So anyway, I just always slice them a little bit. I just figure they're gonna get softened better if they're in smaller pieces. Yeah, thank you for that. And so every now and then you'll run into a pit, you know. They're not always just perfect. So, all right, so we're gonna take our dry ingredients now and just get those ready. We've got 6 cups of oats that we're gonna use. You know, and you can always vary. I mean, that's this recipe. You know, sometimes it's fun to use different grains. You know, you could use barley. barley flakes, you could use wheat flakes. There's a lot of different kinds you can use, but this calls for just the oatmeal, so that's what we're doing today. That's probably about right. Okay, six cups of oats. And then we're going to do a cup of unsweetened coconut. I get most of these types of things at Natural Grocers. They have a nice supply of baking items. All right, and then we have a cup of walnuts. I've already cut those up. And a cup of almonds. I'm going to go ahead and do the wheat bran again. Got a cup of wheat bran. I mean, not wheat bran, oat bran. I'm going to do the oat bran today. Okay. And then our half cup of flaxseed meal. I should do that. Okay. We'll just mix these around. You know, walnuts are such a wonderful, wonderful nut because they not only have the omega-3, you know, and they've got fiber. They've also got melatonin, helps you with and tryptophan. So, you know, this is something, walnuts are just a winner. They just are really good for your brain and your heart. So walnuts are something that is very healthy for you. They call this walnut granola. I mean, there's just as many almonds in here too, but they call it walnut granola. So, just mix that up. And then we'll get our sauce that we're going to put on top. And then just mix that around. And I don't know how your oven is. Mine is as well. If you want to do up a bunch and put some in the freezer, you can always do that. And it's nice. You can add whatever, if you like, you know, like a plant-based yogurt with it. Like do that with fruit and yogurt and the granola. It's very nice together, like a parfait or something. And then, or just add frozen. You can add frozen fruit, fresh fruit, any kind of fruit sauce would be good over this. Do you have other ways that you use granola? Do you make granola at home? Maybe nobody makes. Does anybody make granola at home? A few people do. Okay. How do you like your granola, Jean? Do you do milk? With milk? That's what we do too. We just usually put milk on, and I don't usually use oat milk. I use oat milk for your sample today. We usually use almond milk at home, but yeah. Ann?
Can you use it as a pie crust?
As a pie crust? Yeah. Yeah. You'd probably want to blend it up.
A little more.
Blend it up and then add a little bit of water and, you know, just to get it to where you could put it in your pie crust. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
How did you arrive at 5.5 hours for the cooking time?
5.5 hours by trial and error. Yeah, overnight was too long. And so.
It was actually 5 hours and 29 minutes, I think, when we came.
Yeah. Just kind of trial and error. Yeah.
Cheryl, did you, with the 5.5 hours, did you serve? You know, this you didn't do anything.
That's what I like about it. That's what I like doing it at the lower heat, because then I don't have to stir it. I have a recipe, a pecan granola recipe that I got from my daughter. She got it from a friend, and it's delicious. and you do it like for an hour, and you stir it every 15 minutes, you know. And so you're tending it, you know. But if you're in the kitchen, then it's not that big of an issue. But you know, I kind of like to put stuff in and be done, forget about it, and get on to some other things, and then come back. So anyway, then I just put it in like these cereal containers, you know, that you can pour out of, and I just put them in there. So this is pretty well mixed in. It's pretty good. Okay, and then I would just put it on my pans. Just layer it in on these are a little bit smaller pan. But they're a real heavy duty pan. You want a heavy duty pan to do your granola on. Like for these pans, they're only, what are these? I don't remember the dimensions, but for these, it comes right up to the top, you know. They say a ½ inch, I think, in the recipe, but mine's deeper than that, but it works fine. It works fine for the 5.5 hours or 5 hours and 29 minutes or whatever it was.
And it holds together pretty well.
And it holds together really well. And you know, you can just leave it in the oven too and let it get the residual heat after it turns off. Just let it stay in there. I think it turns out a little better, a little crunchier.
Okay.
A little crunchier, so. Okay, yeah.
How long will this stay? I mean, fresh?
Oh, long time. I don't know, probably to taste the best, somewhere between 2 and 3 weeks. But you know, like if you're worried about it kind of going where it's not as fresh, you could always put it in the freezer. Yeah, if you wanted to. Yeah. Okay, good. Good question. Oh, Fox.
All right, so going back to the white grape juice,
Yes.
do you notice a difference? Does it make a difference?
Well, to me it does. To me it does, because when I first made this recipe, I thought that kind of made the granola. It tastes so good with the white grape juice concentrate, and now I can't. And so it's been a real adjustment for me to use this. I mean, it's okay, but I like the other better. I like that.
And other than taste, is there anything?
No. It's just the taste. The taste was really good.
Sometimes I put white grape juice on my granola instead of milk.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I've done that too, I think. I put juice on cereal instead sometimes. Or like when we're traveling maybe, you know, and there's no, plant-based milk, then I'll use juice and put it on cereal or something. But anyway, so I'll experiment. I'm going to try to boil down the grape juice and keep it, yeah. Yes.
Advantages to the powdered vanilla over the.
Well, there's no alcohol in this one. Yeah. So.
Okay, let's give her a hand.
Okay. Thank
Before we go to the exercise, the stretching, I just want to share with you, we are planning a plant-based cooking school in October 22. It's going to be on a donation basis. We're going to be using this particular special edition of Vibrant Life. It's a special edition on a practical guide to plant-based eating. Super, really very good. We'll be using this kind of as a study material for it. We're going to be doing a lot of demos, and we're going to be, each person that is a participant will be getting this cookbook, 100% vegetarian from your grocery store. And again, it's going to be on donation basis. It'll be October 22 from 2 to 5. 2 to 5. And we'll be covering everything from A to Z on plant-based diet. And I'll have the sign-up sheet back at the table. So we'll look forward to that. So, Jean, if you want to get everyone moving.
If you would like to
please stand. We're gonna get our blood moving just a little bit to make sure we get enough oxygen to the brain so we can listen to the awesome lecture by Dr. Bryant. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is take those deep breaths. Deep breaths are so good for us. Just slow, deep breaths. And stretch up towards the ceiling. Stretch, stretch, stretch. Exhale. Again, inhale. And I think I remember something about that when you breathe through your nose, you activate something that's good for you. I don't know, Dr. Bryant, you could help us out with that. I forgot if it's nitrous oxide or something when you breathe in through your nose, it's really good for you. So what I do is breathe in through my nose and then exhale through my mouth. One more. All right, hand on hip, and we're going to just gently stretch to one side. Other side. Gently stretch as far as we can comfortably without hurting ourselves. All right, now we're going to do the shoulders back. Good, now shoulders forward. Now we're going to do the swimming stroke. Backward. Forward. Okay, now hands in front and just kind of stretch, and this will stretch your upper back. Just stretch your hands forward. And then your head down gently so that you're stretching your neck. All right, now we're going to take our one hand and touch the opposite toe, or as low as you can get, maybe your knee, depending on how often you stretch. Okay, now we'll do the opposite side. All right, now feet together. Touch your knees, and then actually slightly apart so that you're not off balance. And then just slowly and gently, as low as you can go, without hurting yourself, pulling the muscles behind your legs. Back up. Good job, we're done. Good job, everyone.
This is a handout based on today. Take one and pass it to the rest. And again, I've got a quiz for you for you to be able to stay connected here. Pick one, pass it. What's that? It's guaranteed to work if you work. So, how much good does good health information do if you never institute what you learn? back 25 years ago, when we first started what was called the Chec program, Coronary Health Improvement Program, our very first class we had a lady that, and we did lab work to begin with and lab work at the end, and all kinds of measurements to see what happened over the 30-day program. And we had one person that sat in the back, lady, that she took voluminous notes, recorded it. Everything was just amazing, the amount of information she gathered in. And when we got done and we looked at her results, Dr. Mills and I said, oh, this is not good. She had not changed one bit at all. We were going, oh, this is not good. So Dr. Mills started talking to her and started asking her, did you change this? Did you do this? Well, no. Come to find out, she had not changed anything. She had taken all the information in, had not done anything. And she got no change, which would be you expect. A year later, she came back and rechecked her again, and she had made dramatic changes. Because over that year, all that knowledge, she began instituting it, and it began to make changes in her life. So, habits. We all have them. I'm not going to ask you to raise your hands how many of you have bad habits, but I can guarantee we all do, right? Every one of us have habits that we know would be better if we didn't have that habit and if we were able to change it. So the question is, can the power of a bad habit be broken? What do you think?
Yes.
Can it be broken? How many have in their life changed a bad habit to good? Okay, yeah. So it is possible, we know that. So we're going to talk more about the process, the importance of it. Habits are our friends when they're good ones, and habits are the great economizer of energy. Every time you got on the bicycle, to ride the bicycle, it was like the very first time you got on, and you're having to learn. Every time you get on, you're having to learn how to ride the bike. How fun would it be to ride a bike, right? So habits are incredibly important, and probably if we realized how many different habits we have in our daily activity, it'd be dozens, I'm sure. So basically, habits are those routines that help us repeat safe and effective behaviors and build consistency and security in our lives. So it's repeated safe and effective behaviors. And as Abraham Lincoln was quoted saying, certain habits of men are like luxurious vines. They destroy the trees they decorate. So we all know that a lot of addictions are a combination of some chemical process going on and the actual habit. Smoking is one of those characteristic combinations of a chemical addiction with the habit. I remember one of the ladies that we had helping us with the CHIP program had been a health educator. Her name was Amy Sherrard. She passed away when she was 103. She was a health educator and she worked in a hospital out in California, and I remember her telling the story about this gentleman, I forget his name, that he had smoked forever, 4 packs a day. And she was telling him, that God can help you change. He can give you a new will or power. And she left the room and she thought, he's never going to change. And she saw him a few months later. He came back in the hospital for something else, unrelated to his lungs. And she noticed he didn't have any cigarettes in his pocket. She said, what's the deal? Where's your cigarettes? He says, oh, I gave those up. She said, well, Mr. Jones, whatever his name was it hard? He says, well, I wore out 5 shirts reaching for the cigarettes. The habit was so strong. But he eventually developed new habits and so forth. So we want to learn now, classically, addiction, a lot of the examples for classic addictions are a lot of the chemicals, the alcohol, the nicotine, various drugs that are available. So that's classic addiction. But now we know that addictions and habits go on just drugs. They're more than drugs. Drug use is not a necessary and sufficient cause for addiction. From Howard Schaefer, the Division of Addiction, Harvard University, it is improper to consider drugs as the necessary precondition for addiction. There are people that are addicted to violent behavior, to media, social media, to information overload, the internet surfing, to sex. You can almost name it and you can develop an addiction or a problem. So an addiction includes, and this is kind of the nutshell of how to describe what an addiction is. It is persistent, it's compulsive behavior that is harmful or destructive, characterized by an inability to stop. So if you're compelled persistently to a particular behavior that's causing harm and you seem unable to stop, that by definition is addiction. You're addicted to whatever it is, whatever the behavior is that is compulsive. And that today, that can include everything from food items, food addictions, pornography, gambling addictions, shopping addictions, and we could probably go on and make a list, many, many more. So there are a lot of things that people develop addiction to, habits, and it's important that if you think you have an addiction, and if it's an addiction that involves a chemical, it's really important to work with the healthcare provider, because sometimes, if you go cold turkey off on some of the things, some chemicals, you can have very bad withdrawal. It can be life-threatening withdrawal. So working with the healthcare provider is important. Now, here's the good news of all of this, and that is that our master designer, God, has designed our brain with, even in adulthood, with this powerful capacity to reshape ourselves, learn and grow new connections. And not just new connections to other people, but new connections within our brain, new pathways that can be formed. This was from Dr. Rattay, John Rattay, is a psychiatrist from Harvard. He wrote a book, User's Guide to the Brain. He says, experiences, thoughts, actions, and emotions actually change the structure of our brains. And that is something new with the last 20, 30 years, where they've done detailed studies of brain connections to see that new cells being formed, new connections are being formed, and so they, the brain actually changes with our experiences. And I'm going to pass out another handout here. You might be saying, well, yes, I want to change. I know what I want to change. How long will it take for me to change? Give me one. And there's a couple studies that I have here on this handout. And primarily they're talking about anywhere from a few weeks to several months. Some of the studies, help you and me make permanent change. And we call them freedom keys. And there's kind of three basic areas, three basic keys that we're talking about. And we'll just put them up there. They involve the environment, whether it's internal environment, and we were talking about this at our table over here about internal environment. In other words, your outlook, and that outlook is incredibly important for longevity of living. The positive outlook person tends to live longer. External, your surroundings, and we have a little story after this slide that is going to illustrate these 3 points: our environment, our lifestyle, creating a lifestyle, and creating connections. Vertical connection to God, horizontal connection to others. So, let's talk a little bit about Jerry Shield. Jerry, interestingly enough, this gentleman, his story illustrates these freedom keys in action. Now, Jerry, these slides are by Vicki Griffin. Vicki Griffin has a program called Lifestyle Matters. And one of the Lifestyle Matters programs she has is this one called Living Free. And it turns out that Jerry, and there's the book, Living Free, and you can get it through lifestylematters.com. And Jerry, it turns out, no, that's not the picture I want. There. No, there. Jerry said that at one point he was addicted to everything. But somehow he came across the book and the DVD, and he watched the DVD, read the book, and after committing his life to Christ, and he developed a new way of living, he became free from all of his addictions: drugs, alcohol, pornography. He said, I was addicted to everything. Well, he, after a short while, there was such a dramatic change in him. His co-workers were beginning to notice. He decided on his own to begin holding these Living Free seminars using the DVD and the book and so forth. And then eventually found out about the training, went to the training with Vicki and Living Free, and then began to tell them about the next story. So he's had this dramatic change in his life, and he starts trying to help others, and he comes across a man named Roger, who was a down and out depressed retired Royal Air Force pilot who basically was at the bottom with a drinking problem. And this picture kind of illustrates the degree of his drinking problem. And he was basically at the bottom. And the question was, was there any way out of this pit of despair? When Jerry met Roger, Roger was ready because he had hit rock bottom, as they say, and he was willing to try anything. So Jerry began working with Roger. He told Roger about the freedom keys, these freedom keys for living a new life, creating an internal and external environment, creating a lifestyle, creating connections with God and others, and learning better ways to handle stress. And so he was talking to Roger and he says, "Are you willing to commit to try this?" And Roger said, "Yep, let's go for it." And so what began to happen was Jerry began to help Roger. He'd go into his apartment, his home, and began cleaning up the environment. And they began to straighten up the environment. And he said it wasn't easy at first, but nothing about being addicted is easy. This was new, this was better, and over time, Roger began to regain confidence and self-respect. He had no respect of himself when he was in this kind of situation. So Jerry helped him clean up and the environment. He began feeling better. He began to learn about healthy eating, exercising, trusting in God. He began to experience forgiveness from God. Was able to make things right with others, get out from under the shame and guilt that had controlled his life for a long time. And it says Roger didn't just get the victory over drinking, he gave all of his habits to God, including media. And so this was a total comprehensive makeover of his life for every area, mind, body, and soul. And then he began to replace addiction triggers with positive reminders of his new decisions. And so he was creating the environment for success. He began becoming a new creation, literally a new creation in Christ. And he was learning that through God's power and promises, he was making him strong in mind, body, and spirit. He was beginning to apply the freedom keys, and those were making it easier for him to cope with stress so that he didn't fall back. And he was able to connect with others. He joined a Bible study group, and he was able eventually to get back into the workforce and begin to enjoy a new life. So he's just those are two men, the examples of what can happen when they're committed. And this is not, obviously, for Jerry it didn't happen overnight. For Roger it didn't happen overnight. It took probably weeks and months for the new self to begin to emerge and the new habits.
You need to plug in your phone, your computer.
What's that?
Your computer needs to be plugged in.
Oh. It needs power too, huh? Okay. It's a good illustration that without power, habit change will not happen. And so what we're gonna be sharing with you is another handout. Kind of some steps to changing bad habits to good that go many, many good steps, give you a good step-by-step process. It lacks one, in my estimation, it lacks one very essential ingredient, and that's power from outside. One of the most successful programs for helping alcoholics become sober and stay sober is the 12-step plan, and integral to the 12-step plan is acknowledging that the person is powerless and that they need a power from outside. And we believe that power is the power of God that can help all of these well-played plans actually work and be effective. So, and this plan that you have, changing bad habits to good, is for any habit, anything that you're wanting to change. So first is, got to identify what the habit is that you're wanting to either eliminate and replace it. Setting clear goals. This is called SMART goals. Be specific. They need to be measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-bound. They say, for instance, develop a habit of regular exercise. Set a goal of exercising for 30 minutes, 5 days a week. When you go see your physician and your physician says, I think you need to get more exercise, what he's really saying is, you need to develop a habit of exercise. That's what he's really saying. So 3, understanding underlying reasons why the particular habit may be there, replacing it with a good one, creating a plan, building support system, and tracking your progress, and then staying consistent and patient. So all of those 8 steps are actually embedded in these 3 freedom keys. So creating an environment internally, that means overcoming negativity. We were talking about this earlier during the meal. This idea of overcoming negativity and cultivating thankfulness. In other words, changing from seeing the glass as half empty to seeing the glass as half full. Big difference in how you look at it. In other words, refusing self-pity, focusing on solutions, and then practicing new attitudes. So being aware of negative thoughts and immediately challenging those negative thoughts and backing them up and changing them into positive thoughts. Very important. So that's internal environment. Then external environment is making sure the surroundings are helping you and not hurting you. That's where Jerry went into Roger's apartment and helped him clean up, or the cigarettes, or the gambling. Just get rid of all of the temptation, and then begin to make sure the surroundings are helping, not hurting, replacing the positive. So having positive things there to take the place of the negative, harmful things. And then practicing new behaviors. So that's the environment, internal, negative thoughts, external, the environment around, creating an environment that's going to be one for success. And then creating the lifestyle, developing a positive lifestyle, choices that protect brain and body, making it easier to cope with stress and enjoy new things to do in life.
So just a quick question. So basically the idea is that you can't leave a vacuum. You need to fill whatever you remove is something.
Right, right. You don't want to create a vacuum. You want to fill, get rid, as you're eliminating one, fill it with the good. And so that's, and I've got a handout here, because this is really talking about this last handout. We talked about this before. It's the acronym New Start. And New Start stands for nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, sunshine, temperance, T, A for air, R for rest, T for trust and divine power. And what I would like to challenge each one, including myself, is today and in the days to come, look through New Start and pick at least one area of New Start where you say, you know, I need to get more water. And that's one area I'm challenged with, is adequate hydration. So developing a plan and instituting a plan to develop a habit of more water intake and type of thing. And it could be everything from something as simple as you have a habit of ice cream after every supper meal, and we want to change that, replace it with something, you know, with a piece of fruit. So there's a lot of different habits within New Start. New Start is all about habits, forming new habits that fit into New Start. New Start was developed from a place in Weimar, California, which is where I'm going at the end of this coming week. They have a live-in program where they help people make lifestyle changes, lifestyle makeovers in 19 days, and the effects are just incredibly dramatic. The little book that we gave out, the stories in that little book about take charge of your health, all come from people that went through this program and had their lifestyle totally changed. So the last of the freedom keys is this area of connections, creating connections, and connections with others. We want to connect with people who are going to be positive choices. In other words, you know, the obvious example is a person who is trying to give up the habit and the addiction to alcohol. It would not be a good idea to choose friends who are other alcoholics and meet them in the bar every day, right? That's an obvious one. Yeah. But this goes to many other areas in life. People who are going to encourage positive choices, who can mentor and support you in a change, help you stay accountable. You could form a buddy here at Chec Wellness and say, you know, I want to do X, Y, Z. Will you be my accountability partner? Type of thing. Help me be accountable. So that's the horizontal connections within us. The vertical connection is the part that the handout that I gave you, the 8 steps of changing bad to good. This is, I think, the connection that is missing in that handout that we want to include here. connecting with God, and He will forgive you for the past failures. He can create new desires in you. New desires for better habits. And He can empower you and guide you, and ultimately His goal is He wants to spend eternity with you. So also, when we connect with God, you will learn from mistakes. And the idea from learning from mistakes is the idea that instead of having mistakes be a stumbling block that takes you down, learn from the mistake and where you're not going to, how not to repeat that same mistake in the future. You will mature in His character, and then you're connecting with God, you'll walk in His love, His grace, rejoice in His salvation. There's a couple promises here. One from Proverbs 3:5-6, Solomon says, put all your hope in God, not looking to your reason for support. In other words, not trying to depend on your own understanding, your own wisdom. Look to His. In all your ways, give ear to Him, and He will make straight your footsteps. And then finally, this one here from Isaiah 41:10. And this is beautiful in that God's not interested in your past failures. He's looking at your potential, and He's there by your side, and He wants to say, don't be afraid, I'm with you. Don't be dismayed, I'm your God. I'll strengthen you. Yes, I will help you. So, with God's help, anything is possible. And let's take a look at the questionnaire to close. There we go, pull that out. So, number one, when are habits friends?
When they're good.
When they're good habits, right? Yeah, they can be a friend then. To be victorious in any battle with an enemy, one must have a plan. Pretty straightforward. True or false, in the past, the term addiction was used only to refer to problems with substances. True. Today, we recognize we can make addictions from many, many other things. Number 4, addiction includes persistent, compulsive behavior that is harmful or destructive, characterized by an inability to stop. So if that applies to anything in your life, by definition, you're addicted to that. Number 5, other examples of addictions include, what are some of them?
Internet.
Porn, gambling, shopping.
Okay. And I'm sure we could be here for quite a while longer and come up with a list that's even longer. True or false, experiences, thoughts, actions, and emotions cannot change the structure of our brains. False, right. So everything that happens to us, including our thoughts, are changing our brains, which is kind of a new thought, which has just changed my brain. So, 7, the 3 freedom keys are
Environment, lifestyle, creating connections.
okay, all right. You were listening, good. Number 8, creating an internal environment means overcoming negativity and cultivating thankfulness. Okay, amazing just what that can do for your day. Number 9, creating an external environment means making sure your surroundings are helping and not hurting. Number 10, creating an external environment means remove temptation, replace with positives, and practice new behaviors. So the external environment means get rid of the temptation, replace it with positives, and practice new behaviors. So number 11, creating a lifestyle means getting more New Start, right? All the nutrition, the water, the fresh air, the rest. And number 12, what are the 2 connections that will help in making changes last? Connecting with people, others, and with who else? God. And He's the one that can eventually give us the power. Any questions from anything we went over? Next month we have a special speaker coming in from Ardmore, Oklahoma. It's Dr. Joel Sabangan. We've had him here before. He's in the process of being certified in the American Academy of Lifestyle Medicine. He's a pulmonary specialist. So he's worked with a lot of people that have smoked for a long time. He's worked with trying to helping them change that habit. But he wants to talk. He also has done a lot of work in the area of sleep medicine. So he's going to give a talk on sleep, kind of the latest and greatest in sleep. And he wanted to title it Sleep. When you snooze, what's normally when you say, when you snooze, you lose, right? But he